Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Love English, a place where learning English is no longer a race, no longer about grades or pressure, but a human, honest journey that moves slowly enough for you to breathe. My name is Jade.
And I'm Alex. Thank you for choosing to stay with us today, whether you're washing dishes, on your way to work, or simply looking for a familiar voice to listen to. Jade, I want to ask you a very honest question, one that I believe many people are thinking about but may have never said out loud. If you had to start learning English again from the very beginning, what advice would you give? Completely from scratch.
If I had to start again from the beginning, the first thing I would want to say, I want to say this very slowly so you can really hear it, is this. You are not bad at English. You are not a failure. And you are not someone who lacks talent. I'm not saying this to comfort you. I'm saying it because it's the truth. I grew up in a small town. I didn't truly begin learning English seriously until my first year of university. Before that, English was just another school subject to me. No one in my family could speak English. There was no one to ask, no one to correct my pronunciation. No native teachers, no real environment, no chance to actually use the language. After 9 years of studying at school, what I remembered most were verb, conjugations, tenses, and sentence structures for exams. I could do exercises, but I couldn't listen. I couldn't speak, and I was afraid to open my mouth.
Very familiar. And listeners, if you're nodding right now, please know that you're not alone. This isn't just Jade's story. It's the story of millions of English learners, especially those who started late, without ideal conditions or a supportive environment. And the most important thing we want to say from the very beginning is this. The problem is not you. You're not stupid, you're not lazy, and you're not lacking effort. In fact, many of you have been trying very hard for a long time.
The real issue is that many of us were taught in the wrong way, in the wrong order, and from the wrong starting point. We were taught grammar before we learned how to listen. We were asked to speak before our ears were familiar with the sounds. And we were judged before we even understood why we were learning English in the first place. What I wish I had known earlier is this. If you want to rebuild your English foundation, you can't follow the old path anymore. You have to learn in reverse.
So, if you were to start again from the very beginning, what should the first step be? Is it buying a new textbook or signing up for a more expensive course?
No. The first step is not learning more. It's pausing. Pausing to look honestly at your current level. Pausing to ask one very important question. Where am I right now? Many people say they've lost their foundation, but in reality, there are different levels of that.
Some people can listen but can't speak.
And some can read but can't understand spoken English.
Some know many words but can't put them into sentences.
That's why, before moving forward, you need to identify your real starting point. One simple way to do this is by taking a CEFR-based test. Not to compare yourself with others, not to label yourself as high or low, but to understand yourself better. When you know whether you're at A0, A1, or A2, a lot of confusion naturally disappears.
From there, you should set a clear and realistic goal for yourself. For example, moving from A0 to B1 in 6 months. But more important than the level itself is the reason why you're learning English.
Right, Alex. Ask yourself what you're learning English for. Are you learning it to work as a tour guide, to talk with visitors, to introduce your culture, or to handle everyday situations? If that's your goal, you don't need to start with complex grammar lessons.
You need listening and speaking.
You need real conversations and real-life situations. On the other hand, if you're learning English to study abroad or to succeed in an academic environment, then you'll need all 4 skills. You'll need to read, write, listen to lectures, and give presentations.
Oh, I got it. Different goals lead to different learning paths, right, Jade? And that's why following one single path for everyone is often ineffective.
Yes, Alex. If you're listening up to this point, we'd like to invite you, after this episode ends, to pause for a moment and write down your goal. It doesn't have to be long. It just has to be honest.
Writing it down is the moment you start taking yourself seriously. So, Jade, what about the learning method itself? How should we actually learn English the right way?
This is the part where many learners struggle the most, and where many people give up. English is not learned through the eyes. It's not like math or abstract theory. English is a living language. It has to go into your ears before it comes out of your mouth. So if I had to start again from the beginning, I would start with listening. Listening to how words are pronounced. Listening to how native speakers link sounds, raise and lower their intonation. Listening and repeating not just once, but many times, until your mouth remembers the sound naturally without having to think.
And the most important part of learning is learning through real context through stories, films, and everyday conversations.
A word truly comes alive only when it exists inside a sentence, inside a real situation. Learning vocabulary without context is like speaking a lot but not really knowing what you're saying. If you've ever felt that learning words feels overwhelming, exhausting, or mentally heavy, I want to be honest with you. That doesn't mean you're bad at English. It usually means you're learning in the wrong way or forcing yourself to study things that don't connect to your real life.
That's why it's important to simplify your learning. Learn words that relate to your work, your daily life, and the things you experience every day.
Because you're learning English to use it, not to collect it or make it look good on paper. One very important principle that I wish I had applied earlier is intentional repetition. You don't need to study a lot every day. Just one listening piece about 4 to 8 minutes long is enough. What matters most is not how many materials you use, but how many times you repeat them.
Even just 2 or 3 minutes while you're walking, waiting for the bus, or sitting in a vehicle can help you repeat hundreds of words.
Yes, Alex. Around 1,000 words is enough for basic communication.
And about 3,000 words already cover most everyday conversations.
My approach is very simple. I download the listening audio to my phone, and whenever I have free time, turn it on and listen. I keep listening until it feels completely familiar, until I can understand it without effort, and only then do I move on to the next audio.
That's called comprehensible input, or learning through understanding. But there's one very important thing to remember. The content you listen to must match your current level.
Yes, Alex. If you're just starting out, don't rush into content that's too difficult. Begin with things that are simple and very close to everyday life. It doesn't mean it's too easy or boring. It means you're building a solid foundation.
Don't just study English.
Let English study you. Don't become a slave to textbooks. Take control and design your own learning path based on your real needs and personal motivation.
When you learn from things you genuinely enjoy, you learn faster, remember longer, and feel happier along the way.
And at some point, English will no longer feel like a school subject. It will become a living tool, a natural part of your everyday life.
That's when you truly take ownership of the language.
Thank you for listening to this episode all the way to the end. If you saw yourself in today's story, remember this: you are not bad at English.
You just need the right direction.
And this is Love English. See you in the next episode.
Bye-bye.